Coming up, Mid-Size Me, taking your small business to the next level. Printing profits, the Indigenous printers expanding with the help of a mining giant, and grooming and booming, the small businesses benefiting from the rising pet care industry.
It's been almost year on year about 70 to 80% growth.
Hello, I'm Ricardo Gonsalves and welcome to Small Business Secrets. Also coming up on the program, we speak to Victoria's Small Business Minister about his bold plan for entrepreneurship. But first, did you know? A small business, as defined by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, is one with 19 or fewer employees. A medium business employs between 20 and 199. Three-quarters of small businesses in Australia are considered micro businesses, which means they employ fewer than 4 employees, and 62% are single-person operations. Most small business owners agree it's sometimes difficult to visualise expansion plans. Professor Jana Matthews from the University of South Australia gives some advice on how it can be done.
Growing a company is something like learning to drive a car. You know, nobody's born knowing how to do that, but they learn. Part of it is actually the self-perception of the founder or the CEO. They continue to think they need to make all the decisions and they need to pretty much do everything. And that model I call the genius with 1,000 helpers. So as long as they think they have to divide themselves into smaller and smaller slivers so they can do everything and be across everything and micromanage everything, the company stays small.
Whether you're a first-time business owner or an experienced operator, figuring out how to expand your company can be tricky. The New South Wales Government has made it its business to help owners navigate such waters with the program called Small Biz Connect. Now it's going a step further, providing special advice tailored to multicultural businesses.
Next waiting, please. Got beef, one got chicken. Thank you, darling.
A line out the door is something Tuba Nguyen never anticipated when she started Destination Roll with her husband after growing frustrated in her old job.
I used to work for a bank. I couldn't handle with people and their money. They can be a bit aggressive when it comes to money. So one day I just looked through the window and I saw a vacant shop downstairs where I work and decided to open a bakery.
So she sold her house, had some family help, and that combined with a bank loan was able to raise $250,000. She opened shop in 2010.
From day one I opened, we were so busy. Our challenge was keeping up with the demand.
To that first store in Parramatta, she's added 4 more across Sydney. And business is booming, with a profit margin of 20 to 30%. Lunchtime is definitely when most of the cash rolls in for Destination Roll, with about $5,000 in sales being rung up across the 5 stores in total. Now that's about 80% of the day's sales being made between the hours of 12 and 2 p.m. And the most popular item on the menu, this chicken roll. Tuba's success hasn't just been a happy accident, though. A mix of family tradition, research, and recipe refining all played a role.
My dad is a baker himself. He's been in the business for about 25 years.
So you and your husband have spent a lot of time and energy sort of perfecting the recipe for the rolls that you use.
Yes, we spent thousands of hours, if you believe it or not.
That focus on getting the rolls right is why you won't see any other items on the menu.
When our customer come in, it's just one-stop destination for rolls.
Now, Destination Roll is eyeing even greater expansion. And some specialist advice from a New South Wales government program has helped them avoid a potentially costly mistake.
Hello.
Antoine Nguyen is Small Biz Connect's first advisor, focusing solely on Vietnamese-run businesses.
They were quite confident that it was high time for them to go into franchising. But after benchmarking their businesses, they decided that they are not yet ready for franchising. They need to work more towards that end later on. The New South Wales government have come to realize that service provided in multicultural languages is something important in order to get really into the community. So we are from the same cultural background. I can read her mind quite easily.
It's a connection that's helping the good times roll on.
Well, many might think the printing sector is in decline because of digital disruption, but one family business has defied the odds. From printing business cards to annual reports and even children's books, Print Junction is experiencing ample growth. And Sarah Arbo caught up with the family behind the business at their Adelaide printing press.
This might be the last place you'd sit down for a cuppa and slice of homemade cake. But owner Sheila Torzen wants you to feel at home.
Comfort.
That's important. It just makes them feel at home and it's easier for them to do business.
After all, Print Junction was founded on family values.
We've built that relationship with people now that they can feel comfortable coming in and it's like a second home for them.
Print Junction started 19 years ago, an idea born in the lounge room by husband and wife pair Leon and Sheila Torzen. It was an industry Leon knew well as an offset printer and salesman. They worked 2 jobs all day, every day to get things going.
The things that we did at home, we'd bring home all the brochures and pamphlets and we'd be doing all the work at home, folding them and then taking it in the next day.
Hand folding and hand collating and working around the clock and 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Eventually they fell into a rhythm and in their second year the business turned a modest profit.
And Sheila, being an Indigenous person, her background is that she was born at Wallaroo and she comes from the Point Pearce Aboriginal community. She had lots of contacts in the Indigenous field and in the Indigenous world, and that just evolved and got bigger.
Sheila's heritage means Print Junction is a proud member of Supply Nation, which encourages Indigenous supplier diversity. It's brought them clients such as the Commonwealth Bank and Australia Post. Their children are now a big part of the business and have capitalised on every opportunity, like a short stint in Western Australia, which landed Print Junction one of their biggest clients.
We got Leah to represent us using her home office to make some sales calls and have a local foot in the door, if you like, with Fortescue Metals Group in particular. So we did work for them on an ad hoc basis for about 4 years. And that has now turned into a contract for forms that are used on the mine sites.
One of their toughest competitors, of course, is technology. But the award-winning business has evolved with it, upgrading machines to increase flexibility.
Print Junction's mantra has always been about not growing too big or too quickly. And Leon believes that's a testament to their success. While in the past year the printing industry declined by about 2%, the family-run business actually grew by 4%.
They also know when to say no, turning down an ATO job because of its scale.
If we take an order which is just too large, if we take millions of something, it could take months to print. And it may, in fact, close our factory down so we can't service our other clients. So though the order value is large, it doesn't suit our capacity.
Soon preparing to retire, Leon and Sheila know the family business will be in the safe hands of the next generation.
The secret within small business is keeping customers happy. You want them to return, build a relationship.
Coming up after the break, the league legend tackling an oversupplied wine market by creating his own niche. Stay with us. Across Australia, there are nearly 2,500 wine producers. Between those domestic labels and imports, it's a very crowded market. Nosing out a niche can help, and Asana Kadar reports that's just what Mortimers Wines did.
Defence and tries to step away from it, gets it away to Anderson. Anderson back to Steve Mortimer, then he gets his pass to Peter Mortimer, and I don't think they'll catch him. They haven't got a hope in the world of catching him. And Peter Mortimer scores a runaway Canterbury try.
In the late 70s and 80s, Peter Mortimer gained fame for his skills on the rugby league field, 1/3 of the famous Mortimer brothers who played for the Canterbury Bulldogs.
The three brothers all involved.
These days, he's more likely to be found in a different kind of paddock.
We've got 5 hectares of grapes. We've got 16 17 hectares of land.
Mortimers Wines got its start in 1995 when Peter was working at the local TV station in Orange and raising his family of 5 boys.
We needed another income to feed those boys and educate them.
With some advice from a friend, they gave grape growing a try.
We put 6 rows in for an experiment and they went really well. So I went and got a loan and put the rest in, put 90 rows in. And the best thing you can do is get a loan because you've got to pay it back, so you've got to be successful.
Those early days involved a lot of door knocking as Peter tried to sell his wine.
Romance associated with the wine industry, certainly not that when you start off.
It wasn't until 8 years into the business that he realised his rugby league roots could prove useful.
I had denied the rugby league past, stupidly, and thought, I'm going to be a winemaker now, that's in the past. And then I realised that I needed to tap into that because that was my biggest marketing tool. I went through all the people I knew that I played with and against who were in pubs, clubs, restaurants, and there were a lot of them. So I rang up and we opened up a whole new market for our wines.
Contracts with sporting venues followed.
When our son Daniel was playing for Parramatta, I went to Parramatta Stadium and they introduced us to the caterer, and you can only buy Mortimers wines at Parramatta Stadium. And Manly now have our 70th anniversary wines.
Thank you. And Peter sowed that success straight back into the vineyard.
Behind the truck is a Cabernet vineyard, a Shiraz over here with some Pinot Noir, there's some Merlot, and this is Chardonnay.
Beautiful. After 20 years in the business, the last 2 have been particularly bountiful for Mortimers Wines. They've grown nearly 50% in that period, with revenue now just below $1 million. Now that's set to grow again with the introduction of on-site accommodation that's booked out till Christmas.
Single unit down here and there's 2 units upstairs. And people just love to stay in a vineyard. It's just a pleasant place to stay.
And did you have to do much advertising to get the bookings in here?
No, we've done no advertising. We just word of mouth.
Now exporting is on the cards.
Orange is a small region and we're all scared of export because, you look at Chinese market and they order 5 or 6 containers. Well, we couldn't fill that. So we got a group of interested vignerons and we all had a meeting with the freight forwarder, with Austrade, and now we've put a plan together where we've got legal advice so we can, as a group, confidently go to an export market.
And Peter's ultimate goal?
I don't want to grow into a multi-international company. We don't do bottle shops, we don't do chain stores. We do restaurants, we do resorts, and we do stadiums. I want them so that whenever anyone thinks of Orange, they think Mortimers Wines.
Running a small business can be a bit overwhelming, and you might feel like you're alone when facing hard times. Red tape and regulation are reoccurring problems affecting over 500,000 small businesses in Victoria. The State Small Business Minister, Philip Dalidakis, has announced a red tape review to investigate how much day-to-day operations are impacted. Our reporter, Sarah Arbo, caught up with him to discuss the detail.
Well, I'm here in one of Melbourne's renowned laneways where people seek out bars, cafes and restaurants away from the main street. I'm going to have a chat with Victoria's Small Business Minister, Philip Dalidakis. Hello, Minister Dalidakis. How are you?
Good. Please call me Philip.
Okay, Philip, great. Let's chat about small business in Victoria. What are the main challenges, I guess, that people face and perhaps the opportunities that are up their sleeves as well?
Yeah, well, before entering Parliament, I ran my own small business for 2.5 years. And some of the issues that people confront are things like cash flow, things like work cover insurance, payroll tax, and also understanding what type of company structure that they should employ. So there are lots of different issues that they need to get across. But of course, one of the number one things is they need to make sure that they've got a market for whatever product or service that they're wanting to sell.
And so with these challenges, how is the Victorian government able to help small businesses?
The Victorian government's budget extended out payroll tax threshold from $550,000 to $650,000. So that's one way. But we're also doing other things. So we recently launched the Small Business Red Tape Reduction Review. And so we're going to focus on a number of different sectors, but the first one will be the retail sector. Anything that we can do to ensure that they've got more time in their business or even with their loved ones is better time spent than filling out forms.
Obviously, obviously Australia's a very multicultural country, and especially here in Victoria, we see quite a melting pot of cultures on the streets. You know, we're in one of these laneways. What is it about multicultural Australians that sets us apart? What can we offer the rest of the community?
Well, I'm a first-generation Australian, and so I've been afforded an opportunity that my parents gave me and they didn't have themselves. And I think one of the things that differentiates Victoria, for example, is that what we do is we celebrate people's differences, but we're not fearful of them. And I think whilst that's true maybe of the rest of the country as well, certainly in Victoria we take that as a real sense of pride. Anyone, wherever they come from, whatever their background is, we want to embrace you and celebrate that difference, and that's what makes Melbourne and Victoria so wonderful.
So I guess some of the challenges that new arrival communities face are perhaps that language barrier. Is there anything in place to try and bridge that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've introduced is a multicultural small business ministerial council. They report directly to me because sometimes the way that we communicate with different ethnic groups it needs to be different. We need to make sure that we tailor the message and we speak to them in a way that they understand, not the way that we think that they should understand. So that's been a really a great eye-opener for me personally, to understand how different ethnicities need us to be able to approach them with often the same information just presented differently.
Shall we finish our coffees and head off?
I think that sounds like a great idea.
Well, we're here at The Common Good. It's a grocer which prides itself on organic produce as well as ethical standards and consumption. Philip, this has been around for about 3 years and this is quite the business you guys just want to promote.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't have a better story than somebody setting up their own business and taking charge of their own life. And what we've seen in Victoria over the last 12 months, more small businesses have been created here than anywhere else in the country, as people have wanted to do exactly that, take charge of their own future.
Let's have a chat, shall we, with the owner of this small business, Manika Premkumar. Thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you for coming.
Tell us why did you start out in the first place?
Well, a number of reasons, but predominantly we wanted to re-engage people with the food chain and give people an option to shop ethically, meaning where's all their food coming from and what is happening with that money. Is it going to a corporation or is it going to someone's family farm, to a producer of biscuits, etc. Team with that, I became a mum at the time that I opened it, and my husband and I wanted to be present parents and have some ownership over our own lives, and as Philip was saying, like really take our own destiny into our hands. And I think that Victoria, but Australia overall, is a great place to be able to work for yourself, and we felt that we were at the right time to start that opportunity.
And you've certainly had strong objectives in starting your business, but what about the actual process, going through finding a location and getting the ball rolling?
Yeah, it can be murky, but I think I was fortunate. I have a background in business and I had some understanding about how to manoeuvre that, but I think being true to what you want to open, and as well as understanding what resources are available to you. There are lots of steps and lots of people to help you along the way, and it's really about knowing some of those resources. So we found the journey to be somewhat challenging at times, but overall I'll be honest in saying that, you know, we arrived where we needed to with the resources that were available, particularly through Small Business Victoria.
So do you think your business would be looking at growing in the next short period, and sort of what do you need the government to do, I guess, to help you with that?
It's interesting you asked that. At the minute we're in a round of trying to reinvest and put in some new infrastructure in our business. We're looking at putting in a second point of sale system, and that is quite an investment, more than I ever anticipated, and I think it'd be great as businesses are in their life cycle to have some kind of government grant available from Small Business Victoria perhaps, particularly for businesses that are contributing to community like us, so whether it be an ethical grocer or a solar power company. I understand there needs to be some prerequisites, but it'd be great to get some assistance from government just to reinvest in a business that, you know, essentially we're trying to help our communities through.
So Manika, tell me, what other advice would you give to people looking to set up their own business?
Look, I think it's really important to understand cash flow and startup investment. I think that things can be done modestly, but you have to have realistic expectations on how long it's going to take to build a business. No matter how good you think your business is, really understand that those first 12 months are crucial, and then the first 3 years. So really be confident, but know that there's going to be cash flow and capital outlay, and be confident in doing that. Stay with your business plan and stay true to it.
Great, that's a pretty good bit of advice.
Yeah, I reckon it is too. I think we might go check out your goods now. Thanks very much for your time, Manika. Appreciate it.
No problem. Nice to see you both.
See you later.
Thanks for having us.
rate of pet ownership in Australia hasn't changed for the last 50 years. What has changed is how much we spend on our furry friends. About $5 a day for a dog, everything from food to specialised grooming. And of course, small businesses are taking advantage of the booming pet care industry, as Camille Bianchi reports.
I love my dog to bits.
Doge began in 1998 to supply fashion to the furred. Nearly 6 years later, it almost shut up shop.
When we took over, the business wasn't doing well. And that was part of the decision, of course, then to introduce grooming 6 months later. It really did turn the business around.
Under its new leader, Doge shed its failing business model and adopted a strategy tried and tested.
Franchising, we've really started 3 years ago, developing all the materials. Probably this year's, I think, going to be the tipping point where we really start to expand more quickly.
Not only did it survive one of the world's toughest economic challenges, it thrived.
We hadn't seen much of a drop-off since the GFC started, but we're very active with our branding. We do deliver such fantastic customer service. We just kept everything probably performing even better than we had done before.
A decade and 6 stores later, Doge has spread across the ACT and New South Wales. And the drop in the retail side of the business has been offset by growth in demand for grooming services, now a key driver, accounting for at least half the revenue of every franchise. But Doge doesn't just think of grooming as a revenue raiser, it's also an art form, and the business's management search far and wide to attract the best talent. Senior groomer Shoko Subatani joined the company in 2009 from Japan, where dog grooming requires a degree.
8 years ago when I came here, people just came to the store and say, short all over. But now people like, oh, I want like this much length on the body and I want him to get the teddy bear look.
Australians spend $4.3 billion every year on their furry friends, with about $1,000 per pet, and that's not including their food. In the past year, pet grooming has almost tripled, while a surge in apartment living has seen pet boarding increase by 441%.
Barker Arc is one of the businesses benefiting.
It's been almost year on year about 70 to 80% growth, just because as in Zetland the demographic is also double income, no kids, and pet is one of their family members rather than just an animal.
Like Doge, it also plans to franchise, but for now it's about breaking even. And despite revenue growth, high overheads including staff and rent have impacted the bottom line.
We do want to continue to be in this business because A, it's growing, and also the love for our fur babies. Being in an apartment and everyone's working longer hours these days, they don't have the time to spend with them.
But they can check in on them through Facebook and Instagram, the company's sole marketing tools.
They just log onto our page and they can see what their pets are. Their pets are having fun and socialising.
So how much is it to keep that doggy in the window?
Happy birthday to you!
Much more than it used to be.
Running a small business isn't a small task, and keeping up with the latest technology is a job in itself. But some young Melbourne entrepreneurs have found a way to simplify and improve their cash flow.
Sabre No Akuma is a Melbourne-based lifestyle brand that is heavily influenced by menswear and streetwear. Our name actually translates into devil in the details in Japanese. We're not like your average tailors. We do your traditional suits and shirts, but we pride ourselves on being able to provide almost a casual feel towards our product. So we classify our product almost like wearable art. There's 3 elements to our business that are really crucial. One's human interaction, 2's imagination, and 3rd is creativity. So one of the big pieces for us is the human interaction point. We really want to focus on providing a really extremely good customer experience. We started this business that we absolutely love. As a business grows, you get distracted by the flow of work, and it takes you away from doing the things you love. So what I needed to do was start to look at what can we do to be able to start getting more time and then allowing us to do the things that we love again. So having something like the Pay Direct device, it gives us a really good simplified point of sale, but also it enhances our customer experience, and it allows us to obviously keep our back end really smooth.
That is it for the program. If you do have any questions about your small business, why not ask KPMG Enterprise? We have their expertise on hand to help. The details are on our website. And don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Ricardo Gonçalves. I'll see you next time. Next week on the program, we see how young Aussie entrepreneurs are helping people living in India's slums. Small Business Secrets next Sunday at 5 p.m. on SBS.